Alright, folks. So, this is chapter 18, which is Return of Law and Order. Here's a disclaimer. Zoom in. And then back to the picture. Look! That's the main cistern that we have here, Ephraim said to Apacios. He was pointing at a cistern next to the church, where they were heading to church for Sunday worship. When it rains, the water gets collected inside and everyone's free to drink from it. Look at the drainage system, which helps it collect even more water by attracting water that flows from the hill above. Ephraim spoke more while Apacios was drawing some water for them to drink. Wow, it's nice and cool. Who made this? Apacios pointed at the cistern. The first soldiers did. That was even before Lord Pericles. It was made along with the original fort to meet the demands of an increasing population. It's actually quite wide and deep underground, so it's recommended that you stay away from this side of the church grounds to prevent potential accidents, Ephraim said. Does water ever run out from too much use? Apacios said. Not really. It's frequently supplied year-round. It gets the water from the snow, which melts during the spring season, and during the fall. We get lots of rain, which means more than enough to survive the summer season. However, we are planning on building more so that we will be able to meet the future population growth, Ephraim said. Stop lingering around the cistern, you two. The worship is going to start soon, Seth said as he was walking by. Therefore, they followed Seth into the church and got into the areas around other soldiers to get ready for worship. The procedure was the same as that of Hagia Sophia due to standing around at all times. Soldiers were tired when the worship ended. That day passed by without any incident, and all the soldiers went into their barracks to sleep when the day came to an end. Phew! It always gives me so much needed joy that we're exempt from lavatory cleaning duties for 3 years, Thomas said while munching on the dried fish. Oh yeah, that's for sure. I always hated doing this stuff. That's the bad thing about this island. There's not a permanent river for you to collect the lavatory sewer system, so we have to dig up all that filth and cart them away to the farmland or the sea, Ephraim said after drinking some wine. They were sitting around the fire pit again and eating lunch on Monday. Yeah, that place stinks too. No matter how many times we take turns to clean them, the smell is always there, Officer Kai said. Thomas was going to say something, but he noticed a soldier running towards him. What's up, man? Thomas said. Captain Thomas, Lord Pericles wants all of you and your group, along with Captain Claus and his group, to come over to the courtroom as soon as possible, soldier said. Thomas told him that he'll come very fast and returned back to eating his food. I guess they decided what to do about our copper mine, Thomas said. Let's just go there and return to our food later, Seth said. The two groups agreed because they weren't even close to finishing it and they didn't want to make the executives wait too long, lest they make the relations turn sour. We've been waiting for you guys. Take your seats, Lord Pericles said when they entered the room. We're sorry about the wait. We were eating a late lunch, Thomas said. That's fine. We're going to discuss Halki Island's mining complex. Lord Pericles looked at everyone. Let's say that you guys do get to finish the mines and get everything going. We are seeking to obtain 1/12 of the mine's production. How does that sound? Thomas and Captain Claus groups discussed amongst themselves. That sounds reasonable. In consideration of your cooperation and that you maintain our autonomy in managing the mine, Thomas said on behalf of his group. Captain Claus nodded in agreement. We will indeed cooperate with you guys as time goes and necessities arise. Your autonomy will be guaranteed as well. But that is if you provide most of the funds with your own money, Commander Proteus said. When you said most of the money, how much are you expecting that we pay with our own money? And how much would you guys be willing to support us if necessities arise? Officer Anatolius said. The executives spent some time talking amongst themselves. At most, we will be willing to support around 1/12 of the funds that you guys need. However, know that this should be your last-ditch effort to construct a mining and smelting complex. So don't try to come to us to request money from the beginning, a staff member said after flipping some papers. Working on creating a mining community requires much effort. So what days will we be able to use just for working on the island? Ephraim said. We'll give you 2 full days per week to work on that island, Tuesday and Thursday of the week. However, you're free to work on other things anytime you can. It's just that you're not permitted to go to that island on the other days. If you're somehow not using those days to work on that island, you must do your tasks in the fortress or the town. Lastly, keep in mind that you must continue to train yourselves and maintain such capabilities that you have right now. For I don't want to see anyone falling behind due to focusing on something else other than being a soldier, Lord Pericles said. Is it alright to take anyone from this island who wishes to work for us and is qualified? Thomas said. That depends. For if we need such people, then you will not take them. However, for the most part, you will be allowed to take anyone for the benefit of the mining complex, a fortress keeper said. When we cut the trees to open up space for our mining complex, are we allowed to use them free of charge? Ephraim said. You are able to use the trees from the reasonable area free of charge. However, when you end up selling some of them, then you must turn in all proceeds to the treasury, Lord Pericles said. Will we be permitted to bring over engineers and other staff members to help us out when the necessities arise? Seth said. The executives took some time to discuss amongst themselves. Yes, you are permitted to do so, but only on those days that you are permitted to work on the mines, when they have enough free time, and if we are not in urgent need of their help, Commander Cairo said. Thomas, Captain Claus, and their groups of soldiers remained quiet since they no longer had any questions. Is everyone clear now? Does anyone else have any suggestions or questions? Lord Pericles said. All the soldiers shook their heads or muttered out their nose and nays. Okay then, come up, you all, so that you may all sign this agreement. I know that things could come up in the future, so this won't be a fully binding agreement. Which means changes could be made through meetings such as this. Thomas and Claus, if you want, you may also copy down our agreement in your papers as well, Lord Pericles said. The soldiers moved up and took turns signing on paper. While that was going on, Captain Thomas and Captain Claus copied down what was on the paper for their keepsakes. After that, they moved back to their seats. With that, I close this meeting, and you are all dismissed, Lord Pericles said. The soldiers went out of the courtroom and came back to their lunch. Hey guys, I would like 3 to 4 of us to go with Ephraim on an errand to Celembria. It's because we need various designs needed for our mining community and the expert smelter that I know lives there. Raise your hands if you would like to join them for that tomorrow instead of felling trees in Halki Island, Thomas said. Various soldiers raised their hands. The stipulation is that you have to wake up early to save time for that day, Thomas said. Many soldiers let go of their hands. How early? One soldier said. Before dawn, you must be ready by the harbor to take off as soon as we get bit of daylight here, Thomas said. Those many soldiers shook their heads. Therefore, Apasios raised his hand. Well, I'm not much of a help at felling trees, Apasios said. Okay now, those who are too weak to help out, you must go with Ephraim and Apasios. Lucio, you go, and Kai, go with them, Thomas said. Officer Kai got very offended when Thomas finished his talk, but he couldn't talk back since Thomas told the truth. After that, the soldiers trained for that day, did other things, ate dinner, and went back to sleep for a more exciting day tomorrow. Hey Apasios, you're up early, Lucio said when he got out of the barrack. Apasios was sitting by the fire pit again with a torch he just set up to brighten up the area. Yeah, I have no trouble waking up so early. Long time no talk, though, Apasios said. Yeah, long time no talk, Lucio said. Apasios glanced at Lucio. Where's Officer Kai and Ephraim? They're just getting ready right now. It may take them a while to get out, Lucio said. Suddenly, Apasios noticed someone coming towards him. Oh, is that you, Placido? Oh, no. Oh, snap, that was bad. Oh, is that you, Apasios? Are you guys planning on heading to Celebria? It was Placidus. He also had a torch in his hand and walked over to Apasios and Lucio. Yeah, we're just waiting on Officer Kai and Ephraim, Pasio said. Lucio frowned as he saw Placidus. Why are you here, Placidus? Captain Thomas never told us that you would be coming. Placidus chuckled. Ephraim invited me yesterday, saying that he'll visit Salimbria again, and would like some help at getting good designs. Wow, you seem so awake and happy to go on an early morning errand, Pasio said. Of course I am. If it's about leaving this boring fortress for even just a day, I am happy to go anywhere. Placidus then sat down and planted his torch in front of him. He then stretched his arms. You know that we have to start buying the resources pretty soon in the future? Really? Both Apacius and Lucio said. Placidus smiled as he looked at Apacius and Lucio. It was all it was always so fun. He was always so fond of those young guys. They were so dramatic and especially Lucio was so easy to tease. Yeah, that's why Lord Pericles is hustling archers and melee guys to make the new resource building next to the headquarters. They gave this guideline to me and Constance that we need to include a space for one or two people to be managing the building and acting as clerks. But that's absurd, Lucio said. Placidus had a gotcha smile on his face. Just as he had thought, Lucio was hyped up already. Hold your horses, Lucio. It's more about being responsible soldiers. Lord Pericles stated that there have been lots of waste of resources lately, so he just wants us to conserve in our use over them. In return, the executives are talking about increasing our wages by some margins. Lucio was about to protest more, but Ephraim and Officer Kai surprised him from behind. Ephraim and Officer Kai jumped and tapped on Apacios and Lucio's shoulders. Booyah! Gotcha, Apacios! Boo! Gotcha, Lucio! Apacios flinched in surprise and grunted at Ephraim but didn't mind it much. However, Lucio panicked very much. Lucio shoved Officer Kai away. Why you? You ruined our conversation here. Officer Kai came back to Lucio. It wasn't a conversation, but more like you getting mad frenzy. Lucio just grumbled and looked away from Officer Kai. Well then, let's get going, Ephraim said. The five soldiers quietly went out of the fortress and walked down to the harbor where they got ready a small ship for a journey to Salimbria. They immediately sailed out, finding rightful path by looking at the moon's position. Then they continued sailing until sun started shining the sea in front of them. The wind's picking up. Hopefully it persists for a long time, Ephraim said while looking ahead. Yeah, it's annoying when there's no wind, like the return trip from the Halki Island a week ago, Placido said. That day was harsh. We had to take turns rowing, Ephraim said. The soldiers didn't talk for a while after that. Pasios approached Ephraim and tapped on his back. Hey Ephraim, why did Lord Pericles address Thomas with his title at one time, but just called him by his name in the courtroom? Ephraim had already become a person who was a source of answers for Apasios. Whenever Apasios had questions and Ephraim was around to answer it, he brought the question directly up to him. He often liked Ephraim's way of answering the questions, which was often enjoyable and easy to understand at the same time. Then Ephraim turned around to answer it. It's because Lord Pericles found it necessary to address Thomas with his title at the time. There could have been many soldiers who might not have known about Thomas' rank. So when Lord Pericles said it like that, it was both informational and fitting to the setting. Also, he did it in a teasing way, so he wasn't at all humbling himself. And Thomas surely understood it like that since he shrunk back on the ground in nervousness. While in the courtroom, he didn't address the title because it was just other executives and our groups who clearly knew about Thomas' rank. Therefore, you just have to feel when it's needed to address someone with their titles when you rank above them. Thanks, Ephraim. You always answer my questions in full detail, Pasio said. No problem. Ask me any time. Lucio came behind Apasios. Officer Ephraim, what are you trying to find out by going to Salimbria? I'm trying to obtain some documents that will aid us in coming up with the designs of the mining community, Ephraim said. Apasios moved away from between them. I heard Captain Thomas saying that he knew an expert miner. How did you guys come to know him? Lucio said. Apasios first talked to this homeless guy and told us that his cousin is a miner. So we tagged along with him to his cousin's house, and boom, he agreed to help us out in times of need. Ephraim said. Wow, that's amazing. Such great luck that we had, Lucio said. The five soldiers went around talking amongst each other, and when they could see Constantinople as far away, Ephraim shifted sail to change directions to get to Salimbria. Passios nibbled on his last cheese block. You know, the breakfast was really good. The Malay guys do make awesome cheese. Lucia looked at the cheese. I know, right? It has a deep savory flavor which melts in your mouth. They were sitting at the front side of the ship while Ephraim, Officer Kai, and Felicitas were sitting around in the middle part of the ship, conversing amongst each other. Passios decided that it was finally time to get serious with Lucio. Passios cleared his throat. Hey, Lucio, I saw you having an engaging conversation with Magnus last week. Is he a good friend of yours? Suddenly, Lucius started clenching his hands very hard and closed his mouth tight. He just stared straight ahead for a while before attempting to speak. Well, yeah, at least he thinks I am. Well, you don't sound so well. What's wrong? Apocius pretended to be clueless. Nothing's wrong. Lucio grimaced at Apocius. Hey, when when you went to Constantinople, how was it there? It was quite unpleasant. Apocius took a deep breath. There were many unemployed young men our age, and overall people just looked very gloomy. I guess we're lucky to be here. It was the same when I last went there to be hired. Streets were filled with beggars and it wasn't a good experience at all. I don't know what they're doing over there, the Emperor and the leaders, Lucio said. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Apocius gazed at Lucio. How was your ride to the island with Adam and Helios? Lucio grunted. That wasn't anything special. We didn't talk much, and they just took me here. Seth told me that was a part of the hiring process. So if you do poor in it, then they will be less likely to hire you, Apostle said. Still got hired though. You know, Adam and Helios just didn't like me much, similar to other soldiers around here. Lucius spit onto the sea. Interesting thing though. I overheard them saying that the fortress executives will start doing away with the note system. What? Pasio slapped the shit. But I still got hired though. When did you come here again? 2 years ago, Lucio said. So, what happened? Were they just lying to themselves? Apasio said. I wouldn't think so. Lucio drank some water. Just because the executives will do away with it doesn't mean that starting at that moment. So it could possibly mean sometime in the future. They didn't talk for a while. I don't know what's really going to happen. We're just living in an unsustainable organization which could fall apart at any moment unless we continue to reign, Lucius said. Thus went the ride to Salimbria, and the five soldiers got off the ship to start heading for Tasso's house. Ephraim and Apasios had a vague idea regarding the whereabouts of it, but sometimes they would ask other civilians, and it took them some time before they made it to the house. Okay, so my mouth is acting up, so I'm gonna quit here and load up the next video later. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye.